And good evening. Today is August the 5th. Right now it is 7:30, and I'm calling to order this evening's meeting of the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. For the benefit of those who have not participated in the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, our procedures are as follows. The Secretary will read the legal notice of the meeting as published in the local newspapers. The applicant will be invited to come forward and present the case, explaining to the Commission and others present what is being requested of the property. Comments of town agencies will be read if there are any. First, there will be clarifying questions from the commissioners, and then there will be an opportunity for clarifying questions from the audience. Next, we'll ask those who want to support the application to come forward. Second, we'll ask those opposing the application to come forward. As this is a public meeting and must be recorded, it will be necessary for speakers to identify themselves by stating their name and address before addressing the commission. The applicant will then be free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearing, the regular meeting, during which the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of the commission and has a right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. Decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Planning and Zoning Office at 203-453-8039 after 9 a.m. Seated tonight are the following members of the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. We have Tom Cost, I'm Rich Meyer, we have Richard Wallace, we have Ray Bauer, we have Phil Johnson, Frank DeAndrea, Josh Hirschman. Staff tonight is George Crowell and Reggie Reed. And recording for us is Lisa Brewer. Mr. Secretary, could you read?
Legal notice, Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission. Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on August 5th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. at the location of the Nathaniel B. Lee Community Center, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, Mononkatuk Room, second floor, for the following purposes. Property of Ellen Grime, 215 Saddle Hill Road, Guilford, Connecticut, map 95, lot 23, zone R5. Re-subdivision, waiver of driveway width and clear-way requirements, section 272-35B, subsections 1B. Zoning amendment, petition from 350 Goose Lane, Guilford, LLC, to amend the zoning map for property at 350 Goose Lane, map 75, lot 101, former Wilbur and King Nursery, from the I-2 zone to MU/C3 mixed-use conservation 3 zone. Frank Gaglio Jr. and Sherry McKee, 100 Deepwood Drive, map 16, lot 102, zone R5, special permit for a 3-sided wood addition, section 273-94. Ronnie LaShine, 34 Joyce Street, proposed restaurant located at 455 Boston Post Road, map 48, lot 15, zone TS. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the Office of Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. At this hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written communications will be received. Dated at Guilford, Connecticut, this 15th day of July, 2015. Richard Meyer, Chairman.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it.
Chairman, the Shine application's been withdrawn.
Thanks, George. All right, can I get a motion to open the public hearing for Ellen Graham?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You're up.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, my name is Mark Young. I'm the land surveyor with Mobile Associates, representing Mr. and Mrs. Grime. This property is at the end of Saddle Hill Drive, shown here on this map at 1 inch equals 30 feet. The existing lot is approximately like this. It's about 139,000 square feet. It's part of the Saddle Hill subdivision, which was laid out in the 70s. The house is right here. There's substantial vacant land out in the back, and the Grimes would like to subdivide this land to provide an additional building lot. There's it would be served along this existing driveway. The driveway was constructed to serve the adjacent lot. It's on a 50-foot wide right-of-way on the Grime property. The only issue that came up was a portion of the driveway actually got built over on the adjoining land. We have proposed a widening of the driveway on the easterly side here, a small amount of filling in the wetland, and we've received approval for that operation from the Inland Wetlands Agency. We've also requested a waiver of the driveway cleared width. In fact, we do have a 12-foot wide travel way, which we have to cut down a couple of trees to accommodate that. But rather to make a 15-foot cleared way, there are quite a few trees have to come down, and we'd rather avoid that. We don't think it would serve any purpose. The driveway is fairly flat, fairly straight, there's good visibility. So by removing a couple of trees, we'll have the full 12-foot width, and it will be a safe driveway access to both lots.
How big will cleared way be in the right of way? The right of way has to be 20 feet, right?
The right-of-way is actually 50 feet. That's the existing right-of-way.
So you're okay there?
Right.
So it's just cleared.
The existing driveway, it's a little ill-defined. It's an old gravel surface, hasn't been resurfaced for 30 years. It's roughly 12 feet wide, but there's a couple of trees right next to the edge, which we'd like to take down to make a full 12-foot width. But there's a number of other trees that would have to come down to provide a 16-foot cleared width. And we're requesting waiver of that requirement. We don't think it would serve any function.
It's just the cleared way 16-foot requirement that you're asking for, not the other two.
Right, right. As I say, it's a fairly flat, fairly straight driveway. Visibility is good. I don't think taking down the additional trees would serve any purpose. We've identified a potential house site out here. It's outside the wetlands review zone. There's an area for septic here. Soil tests indicate very good soil in this area. Location for well over here meets all the setback distances. We've also designated a possible area over here for a rain garden to handle stormwater from the house. Now, you may notice East Clear Lake Manor Road adjoins the property on the south side here. In fact, that's a private road. We do not have any rights to use that road, so therefore we have to access it from Saddle Hill Drive, which is a public road. Now, we have proposed a conservation easement of about just under 20,000 square feet on the new lot and about 9,000 square feet on the house lot. In this area, a large part of that is some part of that is the wetland area. There is a pond here, and we would request a provision in the document for the conservation easement, which would allow normal pond maintenance. We've got no intention of expanding it or anything like that, but we'd like to be able to take care of it, even though it would be in the conservation easement. So I think overall, we're making use of an existing driveway with minimal impact on the wetland and basically no impact on the surrounding lot. It's just quite isolated. It's a nice building site.
What was the, in wetlands, was there some question about the conservation easement and I'm forgetting, I was there and I don't remember what.
Yeah, they didn't really discuss the conservation easement. I know they were somewhat concerned about the grading on the driveway. We drew a profile of the driveway and that was submitted. And I think we take care of all the other conditions of approval that Wetlands put on. There was a comment about, I think engineering staff wanted clear ends on the culverts, which is fine. But that's minimal disturbance to the area.
Other questions? Josh says a letter probably.
There's quite a few letters.
Are there really?
I'll start with the big one.
Okay.
This one's from Kevin McGee, stated August 5th. I have reviewed the plans for the re-subdivision of Lot 20 in the Saddle Hill subdivision. The applicant has completed the low-impact development checklist and is utilizing several of the recommended practices. The Guilford Inland Wetlands Commission at its July 8th, 2015 meeting provided a regulated activity for modification of the driveway and the extension of the driveway within 100 feet jurisdictional review zone. The commission also favorably referred re-subdivision of the property of L.N.L. Grime, Lot 20, Saddle Hill subdivision with conditions to the Planning and Zoning Commission. A copy of the referral letter has been submitted to the file. As part of the subdivision code, at least 10% of the subdivision should be dedicated as open space through the dedication of land or conservation easement. The land area being donated shall not consist of a greater area of wetlands, watercourses than the parcel as a whole. If the area being dedicated does not meet the purposes of the regulations for preserving high-quality forest lands, protection of important animal or plant or habitants, protecting contiguous open space, or protecting special wetlands area stems or other water bodies, a free in lieu of land donation can be requested by the commission. The area land being dedicated contains a greater area of wetlands than the whole parcel. In addition, the proposed conservation easement area contains a groomed lawn that extends to the edge of the pond and existing 30-foot drainage easement, which takes precedence over the conservation easement and driveways which cut through the easement areas. Based on these existing encumbrances in a large wetland area, the conservation easement provides little additional protection to the properties, and there would be a battle with the existing property owner not to mow the lawn in the conservation area. Recommendations for conditions of approval. The Planning and Zoning Commission requests that the applicant pay a fee in lieu of land since the area being proposed for dedication does not meet the standards for open space. The approximate value of the fee in lieu of land is $12,000 based on 60% of the appraised value of $380 for the whole parcel. The subdivision lot is 60% of the existing lot. The fee should be paid at the time of the sale of the subdivided lot. The town of the Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to site work. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement. If the commission finds that the conservation easement area should be approved, A, the conservation area should be reconfigured so it does not contain the 30-foot drainage area and driveways. A planting plan should be prepared to show a vegetation buffer that would be installed at the location of the existing lawn located within the conservation easement. B, in order to prevent construction in the conservation easement area, I recommended the following conditions of approval. A, the language of the conservation easement shall be in accordance with the standard conservation easement document of the town of Guilford. The terms of the conservation easement shall be made a restrictive covenant running with the land building, binding on successors and assigns. If a conservation easement is not approved by the town meeting, the applicant shall file a deed restriction with similar language. The conservation easement/deed restriction shall be filed in the land records at the same time the final subdivision maps are filed. B, no building permits shall be issued and no site work to be conducted until the conservation easement has been filed in the town land records and subdivision has been properly marked with iron pins and signage as noted on the site development plan. For, as noted in section 272-24 of the subdivision regulations, a digitalized copy of the final subdivision plan be submitted to the commission in PDF format showing all property lines. Did you receive this letter?
Yeah, we received it about 4:30 this afternoon.
All right, that's what I figured. There are a couple other letters in here. Oh, go ahead.
May I respond to that one by reading another one?
Why don't we hold on a second, let's hear what David has to say.
Yeah, no problem. I don't.
I'd like to pass out a response to that letter.
Jeez.
Dirk Calls, Waldo Associates, 89 State Street.
He's thinking poof a little better.
All this since 4:30? Yeah.
I think you also might mean that instead of the subdivision being 10
Dear Kevin, we are in receipt of your letter submitted to the Secretary of the Planning and Zoning Commission late this afternoon before tonight's public hearing pertaining to the above referenced matter. State law sets a 10% minimum of open space dedication for subdivisions and re-subdivisions. Provisions for fee in lieu of open space dedication are included in the Connecticut General Statutes. As well, state law does not forbid the acceptance of conservation easements in lieu of open space. The Guilford Zoning Code in Section 272-412D specifically allows conservation easements to be accepted by the Commission in lieu of open space. There is a specific history in Guilford of the Commission accepting conservation easements in lieu of open space dedication. The applicant has noted in the application that open space dedication is not appropriate as there is no synergy with nearby public lands because this is a subdivision involving a relatively small amount of land. Paragraph 3 of your letter applies the standards for open space land dedication, specifically Section B 272-41B1B, to the proposed conservation easement, which is in fact not open space. The zoning code does not state that conservation easements, if accepted by the Commission, must meet the requirements of land dedication. Paragraph 3 notes encumbrances on the proposed conservation easement, including lawn area, 30-foot drainage easement, and driveway. Technically, there is no reason that a conservation easement cannot overlie areas with rights of drainage, lawn area, or even driveways. A substantial amount of protection from construction results from the conservation easement, and the easement does offer value to the town, with or without these encumbrances. For example, in East River Preserve, there are multiple instances where drainage rights are reserved over conservation easements. In other areas of the preserve, there are fringe areas of mowed pasture along tidal wetlands that are within conservation easements. Regarding point 3A of the letter, there's no need to remove the drainage easement from the conservation easement, and the language can be crafted to continue rights of drainage. If the driveway is of concern, it could be accepted from the conservation area. A planting plan that proposes low plants and shrubs which do not block the view of the water feature may be acceptable between the lawn and wetlands. The procedure outlined in 3.b appears reasonable with regard to the procedure for developing and recording the conservation easement. Regarding point 2, the notification and inspection requirements and stockpile requirements are already included on the plan. Regarding point 1, the applicant urges the Commission to reject the recommendations and to accept the conservation easement, as it has in similar situations in the immediate past. If there is a preference to accept the driveway from the conservation easement, that is reasonable. Thank you.
If we accept it from the easement, what area would you add at some point?
Sorry.
We would add some area just to the uphill side of the easement, primarily here. All this area is not going to be developed anyway. The additional conservation easement would provide protection, but would not unduly encumber the property. I think the concern was that there's a pond right in here, a small pond, which is included in the conservation easement. There's also this drainage easement that goes through the door.
The drainage easement, is that pipe or is that just?
No, it's just over the brook.
Okay.
There's a brook that runs into the pond, and then the brook continues, it's covered under the
So
driveway.
that area wasn't cleared or anything, it's just a drainage area?
Yeah, just right in there. I know that the brook comes from over there. Let me see. It's coming back to Harrison Road or something. Can't think exactly where offhand.
What are the restrictions for maintenance of the conservation easement area? I mean, as I'm picturing, it sounds like there's a lawn that goes down to the pond.
There is right in this area. Yeah, I mean, if that's a concern, you know, and so there's about maybe 8 or 10 feet at the end of the lawn, which would be in the conservation easement. If there's a concern, we could reconfigure the conservation easement to exclude the lawn. That certainly would not be a problem, and it would avoid that issue. I I think the major point of the conservation easement is to prevent any building and construction or general clearing and that sort of thing. And, a lawn, well, they're not going to ever do anything besides have a lawn. I think.
Well, are they concerned about wildlife and water getting into the pond or lawn area? Probably might be fertilized. That's going to be right on the pond. Tell me why that wouldn't affect the water quality in any way, having lawn down to the pond versus having undeveloped area.
Well, the undeveloped area may provide some additional filtering of the rainwater. I think it's, there are some trees, it's not an impervious surface. The lawn does infiltrate a substantial amount of the rainwater. I can't speak for the lawn care practices of the owner.
The reason I'm asking is that Kevin's letter is worded kind of strongly compared to what you're describing. I'm trying to find common ground.
Well, let me say this. For example, if Kevin wanted a buffer there, I guess the landowner's only objection would be that, I have this water feature and now I can't see it because there's a buffer. But there is precedence in Guilford for there actually to be clearing rights over conservation easements, not clear cutting. So it could be possible to have a buffer of low-lying shrubs that would buffer that area, but it still would obliterate the owner's view as water feature.
So, we have this one area that we go to every couple of years, either on wetlands or planning and zoning, where it's on a lake right by Guilford Lake School, and inevitably people clear right down to the lake because of a misunderstanding about what a conservation easement is. So why won't this be a problem if we say that this is okay? What kind of reassurances would we have that it would be protected? And maybe you can educate me. How is paying $12,000 going to mitigate that? I'm confused about this.
Okay. To answer your first question, it's common in conservation easement language to provide access to enforcement personnel to check on the condition of the
Right.
resource. So there's canned language in conservation easements.
Right, so how would this second question, how would this $12,000 payment remedy all of that? Like, I'm having a hard time understanding it.
Well, okay.
That's our regulations.
Basically,
That's our regulations.
that's the regulations. Now, what that means is you get no conservation easement, you just get cash. You actually have less environmental control because you've chosen to take the in lieu of rather than this conservation easement.
So we'd never have to worry about someone working down there or doing things they shouldn't be doing if we took the cash.
Well, because then they can do anything they want there.
Right, but it would be okay because it's not an
You wouldn't have to
easement.
worry about it, but it may still happen.
But
Right.
But it depends on which, personally, if we take the driveway out, and in the end, more so the interest in treating everybody fairly, we take the lawn out, I would be more inclined to go with the...
Then that's not a problem to reconfigure it and add some other acreage over on the other side.
I think we need to be fair with everybody who require an easement. Now, you also can go in there to do maintenance. That probably will be part of the easement. I have one in the back of my property, and a tree comes down during a hurricane, you go back there and clean it up, but you can't take it down.
Right.
Clean it out, so
That's generally it.
clear cut or anything.
So if we were to say that you can reconfigure your conservation area, your easement area, how would that work if we're going to give you approval tonight? How would we word it that we would be assured that this would somehow or another meet?
Well, we could say we would preserve the area.
We would,
Land added in the second.
Well, you can make a condition of the approval that
we could work it out with town staff.
you could put it,
You also have to sign the subdivision map before it can be filed. So the condition could read that the revisions be made prior to your signature, so that we can make sure that they were actually appropriate. But I didn't hear you say explicitly that your client doesn't want to make the $12,000 payment.
We would state explicitly that our client does not want to make the $12,000 payment. Especially when there are many other examples in recent history where conservation easement has been considered.
I think the way our regulation is, you have the right to not can't work within a certain amount of
Well, the
people.
wetlands, without approval anyways.
Right, so they wouldn't be able to do it even if it's up to...
But, well, they might be. They might be able to get approval to do work in there, they can handle the wetlands.
You're right, we can...
This way, they can't do it no matter what.
All right, so what else do you have to give us? Anything? Any more information? Josh has a couple more letters he wants to read.
Yeah, we can respond to these other letters.
I don't know that, this is from James Portley. If the reference application is to be approved, it is recommended that the following changes be made. 1, plans be revised to reflect a wider driveway from the cul-de-sac to the proposed spur to parcel B. 2, plans for a more substantial retaining wall be provided that will support heavy vehicle loads and show the location of the post and rail fence that is sufficient to withstand vehicle impacts.
We have submitted a detail for a,
This is our response to Mr. Portman's letter. Dear Jim, in response to your memo dated July 15, 2015, regarding the subdivision application for the above referenced property, we offer the following. The project plans have been revised to indicate 12-foot driveway width. The majority of the existing driveway segments traveled way, as measured by the existing gravel surface, is 12 foot wide as required by the Guilford Subdivision Code. Some selective clearing of vegetation will be done along the edges of the driveway to ensure the 12-foot width, but the applicant continues to request waiver of Subdivision Code 27235B1B2, 16 feet clearing, to avoid unnecessary clearing of the wetland regulated areas along the existing driveway segment. The driveway length to the proposed residence is in compliance with the Subdivision Code. Retaining wall. The proposed retaining wall is a piece of stone gravity retaining wall from Unilock. It is designed to support heavy vehicle loads. Specifically, the manufacturer specifies a traffic surcharge of 250 pounds per square foot. Technical information regarding this Unilock retaining wall system is attached. Post and rail fence. The post and rail fence originally proposed was intended as a visual cue to vehicle operators, not for withstanding vehicle impacts. The roadbed is only approximately 2 feet above the wetlands along the proposed fence. A more substantial mortise and tendon wooden fence capable of withstanding vehicle impacts at slow speeds is now proposed. The posts of the fence are 10 foot by 10 foot. The rails are 5 inches by 8 inches by 8 foot in length. The line type for the fence has been changed on the engineering drawings to distinguish it from the silt fence.
Did you respond to Jim by letter?
Yes.
And he's okay with this response?
He has not come back with any further.
George, do you know anything if anything came up at a staff meeting or?
No, he didn't mention anything at staff meeting.
Okay, but he did receive the letter.
Oh, yeah, well, this letter, I'm not sure, I don't know about that.
This was received by the engineering secretary. See on that.
Yeah, it's received July 28th, so he had.
I think he's actually commenting about the plans before the wetlands
yeah,
review as well.
right, that was before the wetlands.
Yeah.
But he actually republished his letter after the wetlands review.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then there's one more letter. This one is from Scott Williams. Oh, I don't have to read this.
That's the wetland approval letter.
This is a wetlands approval letter, so I won't read it.
Yeah, fine.
No, that's not necessary. No.
All right. Any other questions?
I have a question. Did you mean the posts are going to be 10 inches by 10 inches? or-
Right.
It says 10 foot.
10 inches.
Yeah,
10 by 10.
Instead of split rail fence, it's going to be a mortise
All right,
and tendon.
because
See
you
it now in
stated,
high school.
you stated, and the letter says 10 foot by 10 foot, so let's correct that to 10 inches by 10 inches.
All right, and then if we do grant the conservation easement, you're going to pen it and put up the signs notification, so no one can say they didn't know it was there.
Right.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Last chance.
I have a question.
What?
My concern about the driveway is that whenever we're doing this, we never consider the possibility of things that could happen at the house, like a fire. And my concern is, I understand what you're saying about not cutting down trees. My problem with that is that the trees will overgrow the driveway, no matter what you do, even if they're 16 feet. And with some of the fire equipment the town now has in its arsenal to fight a fire, I'm concerned with 12 foot as a width, because not only do they have to get in there, they have to get out of there. So
Right, well,
I don't have any, I think it's a good project. I don't have any problem with anything else, but I think it would be in the best interest of safety if it was not just 12 feet.
So you're thinking that as a tree grows up, the
Well,
branches spread?
I guess the subdivision code says 12 feet, so
Well, no, the clear, I think he's talking about the clear area.
the clear
You're asking for the
we can
exception.
maintain a right to clear in the conservation area easement, if that would help.
I just know, I just have a concern because there are a lot of places right now in town, because they've been there a long time, where houses are going to burn down because the truck can't get up to the house to put them out, put the fire out.
But we can reserve in the agreement regarding conservation easement to allow clearing off the tree.
if the commission feels that that's a major concern, then we'll have to clear some more trees.
Other than the fact that maybe there's some language, I don't know, we
Yeah.
keep making conditions, but language that whoever has the responsibility for the driveway is clear that they have to make sure that there's enough, the trees are cut back, the height of the limbs coming out over the driveway are high enough so that emergency equipment can get in there.
I did, when we were working on here, I did see a 30-foot box truck, drive down the driveway to this house without any problem. And that's as is.
I understand that,
And
but
we're
what
doing
about
that
5
a little
years?
more.
What about 5 years?
10 years. Do you have to reach deeper into the wetland to make the driveway wider? I know that you were right up against the wetland with that little retaining wall.
Well, all we have to, we're only doing, cutting down half a dozen smaller trees. So I don't think we have to go back to wetlands for that. The driveway is in fact wide enough. It's just that it's kind of not used and kind of grown over.
Is it also on someone else's property?
Well, that's in this area. We provided, we've gotten a permit to widen the driveway on our side
Yep.
to the 12-foot common way.
I think we did,
Mr. Chairman, I think the neighbor wants to comment on this issue.
we discussed this in our staff meeting with the fire marshal. He didn't write any memo to you, which he would do if he felt strongly about it. His comment, as I recall, and Reggie perhaps can expand on this a little bit, was wider is always better, which I'm sure is true as far as fire access is concerned. He didn't appear to have major issues with this particular plan, or he would have written to you, at least that's my opinion, recommending changes. And the way this should properly be done is if the fire department feels that we needed to beef up our standard for driveway width, we should do that by amending the subdivision code to require a wider driveway and greater clear distance, and perhaps provide some kind of requirement for homeowner maintenance, which is very hard to enforce, obviously. So that's kind of where this is, I think, in my opinion.
The problem is we're reducing it from the 16 feet. I mean, maybe what you would want to do is, you can't clear onto the other guy's property, but if you need to get more, we don't put the easement on that additional 4 feet. The easement starts 4 feet in from the driveway, so if you have to clear the 16, you can't.
Oh, in the conservation.
Yeah, and then move
Yeah.
more of the conservation easement someplace else. So that.
Yeah, let's see, that would be in this area. Yeah, we could put the edge of the conservation easement, 5 feet back from there, 8 feet back from the edge of the driveway.
That's what I'm thinking.
So that issue doesn't come up.
Necessary to go to the full 16 feet at some point because somebody determines that there is a
That's
problem.
fine.
You are okay to clear it.
Okay.
Is that a reasonable compromise?
We'll discuss all this. And one last thing for me is the locks, you were describing these interlocking things.
Yeah.
If you said the 250 pounds per square foot is the rating, would a fire truck, a full-size fire truck fully loaded with water, will that present more weight than that can withstand?
According to the manufacturer, that's sufficient for commercial trucks.
For commercial trucks?
Yes.
Okay, I want to be sure that no Guilford firemen are at risk. All right, any other questions, or can we open up to, would anyone in the audience like to ask questions, make a comment? You're up.
Yeah, thanks.
I just wanted to make, I'm Bill Scott, 210 Saddle Hill Drive. So I'm the one that is using and re-graveling every other year and trimming that driveway. And I just wanted to say, I mean, we're maintaining it so trash trucks can go up and down and pick our trash up. And we're maintaining it on a regular basis. I don't see, I mean, what can I say? You want to know what will happen in 5 years. I'm going to be there in 5 years maintaining it so that trash trucks can come up and down the driveway.
Is it on your property, the driveway?
Well, a portion of it is easement on the Grime property, and a portion of it's on my property.
And you both have easements to use it?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually on the Grime property, and
There's a portion of it. A portion of it's on
a little bit here, and where it goes up to
Yeah,
serve the house is
exactly.
on your property.
Exactly.
Right.
But we're maintaining it, and we're maintaining it so trucks can go up and down it.
And the part we would be utilizing turns off before it goes up to your property. And so if we are approved, a large part of the maintenance would be shared with the new owners,
Yep.
which would reduce the burden on you.
Sure. But the point is, it's already being maintained so that trucks can drive on it.
Right.
And at least with respect to our property, there's a large turnaround at the end, so a fire truck could easily go up to the end of that property on our driveway portion, turn around and come back down.
Good,
So,
thank you.
My name is Greg Bugby. I live at 101 Clear Lake Road, which is just south of the property here. And I don't have any issues with the driveway as far as I can tell. I do worry a little bit that because of what's going on here, everything is being shifted towards our land, particularly the septic system in leach field. Did you take into account our well, the location of our well?
Yeah, none of the wells are within 75 feet.
I think one of the test pits was within 75 feet. We measured it properly.
So that would have been off.
There was one very close to our well. I'm a little bit worried about a septic system being put that close to.
Well, it certainly would not be put closer to 75 feet. There will be an engineered design prepared when the time of construction comes, before it's approved for construction, and that will take into account all the surrounding wells. If we have to move it over a little bit to get...
Did you show our well on your plan?
It's not on this plan, no. If we have to move that proposed septic system area, there's plenty of room.
But let me just ask you, so it's an engineered septic system. So you're going to have to go back to the Director of Health to get approval.
Correct.
And you're going to have to show where all the wells are before you'll approve them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? No? Did that answer your question well enough?
I think so. Obviously, I prefer not to have a septic system close to my well.
Right. So what they're saying is when it comes time to do it, they're going to measure where your well is and make sure they're far enough away that it can't possibly affect
So
your
it's
well.
75 feet, regardless of how much land you have or anything.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I would also like to say, this area kind of drains towards the north, away from your house. So,
I don't buy that, because I think it drains to the lake towards my house. But we can argue that.
well, in any case, we will make sure that at least 75 feet is allowed between your well and the new septic system.
Good. Anything else from anybody? Last chance. All right, can I get a motion to close public hearing?
Moved. Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to open the public hearing for Frank Gaglio and Sherry McKee?
So moved. Second.
Those in favor?
My application would be much simpler. I just want to put up a shed on the side of my garage, existing garage, 4 feet wide and 26 feet long, probably about 8 foot high. With the applications, I'm almost certain I put some photos of the existing garage and a sample of what this shed is going to look like. It's just there to store wood, firewood, that's it.
Okay.
If
Sounds
you don't have the photos, I have some to,
Yeah, I think Lisa has the file, so whatever.
you want, I can just pass these around if you want.
That's good. It's easy.
Okay. The one with the tree in front of it is just a prototype of a sample type garage that I'm going to build. That is the existing garage you have.
It's nice looking. You're not worried about insects getting into your, like...
No, I plan on using some press board up against, so that it's, not press board, but some kind of a,
Pressure treated.
not pressure treated, just pressure treated, but I'm going to use pressure treated no matter what because it's going to be exposed. But I'd like to film like a Tyvek or something up against the existing garage, so it's going to be up in, the firewood's going to be raised up about a foot anyways, because I want aerial underneath it. I know it's kind of over-engineered, woodshed, but it is what it is.
Anything else? We're not near any wetlands or anything? We're far away?
On the plan, when I put up the existing garage, I had to get soil samples and everything done, and this is the surveyor's 100-foot line. So it is already past that. It's going to go, this is where the existing, proposed shed is going to be. This is the original plan that I used for the soil sample.
Good. All right. Anyone have anything to say? Ed, question? Nothing? Thank you, sir. Can I get a motion to close public hearing? Mr. James. Second favor. Aye. Public hearing on zoning amendment. Can I get a motion? Second. Those in favor? Aye. Who's here to talk about Goose Lane?
Good evening. My name is Ron Knoll, civil engineer with the firm of Fuchs Consulting Engineers of Meriden. Also with me is Russ Campaign. He's a planner and architect of the firm Campaign Kessner here in town. We are here to petition the Planning and Zoning Commission for a zone change for the parcel at 350 Goose Lane. Currently zoned industrial, here shown in purple, pink, I-2, and it's a former site of the Wilbur King Nursery, and now lies unused. We ask that the parcel be rezoned to the mixed-use Conservation 3, MUC3 zoning. We feel that this is the perfect parcel, that the MUC3 zoning is a perfect application for this border transitional parcel between the industrially zoned land to the south and the residentially zoned land to the north and east of us. We are proposing a residential community setting of condominiums sharing common space and making better use of the pond that's on part of the parcel. Russ will talk more about this, and we remind everyone that we'll be back before you to present our specific proposal under the site plan application process. The conceptual site plan for the property from the civil engineering aspect, Goose Lane running to the north-south through here, the existing Wilbur King building to be adapted and reused as part of the proposed complex of residential condominiums. Residential scale, and under this concept, as Russ will show you in a minute, the cottage-style concept, quite popular, I guess originated in the Northwest, adapted in Massachusetts nearby and built. Here's the pond that we hope to take advantage of as well. Again, this is conceptual. We'll be back before you with a full site plan application. Tonight, our request is simply to rezone this property from the industrially zoned industrial I-2 zone to the MUC3. Russ, would you show us some concepts?
Sure. So they approached us looking at different concepts for how to utilize this property and sort of address, I think, what the town needs, which is smaller scale housing with some autonomy and some sort of independence, and yet what land cost drives is larger homes. Most of the subdivisions are on larger lots and have much larger scale homes. And so this is kind of a bridge, and we found there's several in Massachusetts and quite a few on the East Coast that are sort of addressing, trying to get a tighter density through a condominium complex, but using a cottage style to get some independence so each person can sort of have their own feel and architecture and such. So the idea of this is sort of spreading it out, having center greens that each of the cottages look onto. So there's a green space that would be part of the development that sort of gives a certain feel and look to each of these sort of between 900 and 1,600 square foot homes that range from 1 bedroom to 3 bedroom kind of in concept. Some of them are actually walkable only. Some have rear garages that have access directly from an access road, and some of them are paired as semi-attached, sort of more. It's in scale. We put those up toward the street, so they were larger scale as far as the neighborhood homes and such, which are in the 3,000 to 5,000 square foot range as you go down Goose Lane, and the smaller cottages are both behind. And again, this is just concept, just to show what can happen, the scale, the sizes, and the setbacks, and the change of this zone allows for this style of development to occur. I also submitted just some images, and I have copies of this that I can give, of some of them are actually a Massachusetts development, and some of them are sort of the West Coast development. You can see are more sort of craftsmen in their styling. But the idea of this green space, these front porches that look out of the center, sort of green that sort of runs down the center, and the autonomy of these small 1.5-story cottage-style buildings that have different colors and different railings and different, give this sort of independence, I think, that people are looking for. And so the idea being that these can be done at a price point that is available to downsizing individuals in the town, and that can be justified to build at this scale because we can get the density on them. And it's very different from sort of a larger scale condominium or apartment building that has 12 to 15 units in it that will sort of not have that level of, I think, independence. So this is just, again, a concept. The zoning has been changed. All that we're asking is really for you to transition this zone from what is now an I2 zone into the new zone so that it would allow for this type of development on it, which we think is more appropriate for this particular parcel.
Nice. What questions do we have? You're at 4 units per acre or less with that, right?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of, off of this map, there's quite a bit of area actually that we plan trails along the pond and through this area. It's actually quite a nice site. So we're only developing really a small portion of the overall area.
Do you expect to have any commercial activity, businesses, or no?
We don't, and as a matter, it's part of the MUC3. The use, any commercial uses, I think, were removed from that applicability. We don't anticipate it like a store or anything as part of this parcel.
There's some commercial uses.
Well, it could be.
Yeah.
No retail, though.
No retail.
Want me to read a letter from Kevin?
Would you?
That'd be great. Sure, this is from Kevin McGee, the environmental planner, dated August 5th, 2015. The property at 350 Goose Lane contains a portion of a pond and a large area of wetlands. The proposed zone change from industrial I2 to mixed-use conservation 3 provides for less intense use of the property by eliminating businesses that have a greater threat of causing contamination to the on-site wetlands.
Right. And there was a letter in here from you, Ronald. Do you want me to read it, or do you think you represented everything that you had said?
I believe so. I mean, it's part of our application.
Yeah, okay.
Good.
Just dying to read again.
What other questions do we have? Richard? Nothing, Tom?
No?
Any other things you want to offer up? Okay, do we know everything now? Okay, any folks have any comments, questions, either way? Nothing? Wow, okay, make it easy. I mean, ask for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, can I get a motion? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve the revised agenda?
On behalf of the town council, I'd like to ask you to add one other item to your agenda under his report, which is listed on the item G, other. Item number 3, to be described as discuss with town council litigation regarding the Latella special permit.
I'm sorry, the what?
Latella special permit. Some of you may remember this. It was a horse farm kind of property that was approved a number of years ago.
Oh, yes, I do.
It went to court, and we appear to have a resolution of that, and town council wants to discuss that with you, so if you could add that to your agenda.
When is Chuck going to be here?
8:30.
Okay. Good, that'll be perfect.
8 minutes.
He'll be here. You can always count on Chuck.
Move, do we have to move the revision of the agenda?
Accepted, yes.
I move that.
Second? Seconded it? All those in favor? Aye. Great. Okay, so let's start with the deliberation of the public hearing items. Let's start with the property of Mr. Grant, Ms. Graham. This is the one where Kevin wrote the letter saying he wanted cash payment in lieu of, right? What do you think, Ray?
Put a motion.
What do I think? I think if we make the necessary modifications to the easement, it's fine to do it that way.
I think you're right.
Those modifications would be that, first of all, the driveway doesn't get included in it. In addition, we move the easement area to begin, we said, just 4 to 6 feet back from where the driveway currently ends, so that we can get to the 16 feet if we ever needed it. And then that would be reoriented to another location. And then plus that lawn area would be included in the easement areas that we were talking about. So that would have to go back to being wild, that one area. Or small plantings would be appropriate as well.
Yeah. Do you want to make that motion? Get it going? Or?
Yeah, I'll move it.
I mean, I don't know if anybody else has a different opinion.
Well, let him do the motion, then we'll talk.
Proposed motion, is it Grimm?
Graham.
Approval. Order that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a re-subdivision application for Ellen Grimm, 215 Saddle Hill Road, map 95, lot 23, and a driveway waiver as required and as shown on a subdivision property of Ellen L. Green dated June 10, 2015, revised to July 23, 2015. Those dates are right. I'm asking if I want to make sure on the approval, it's dated June 10, 2015, revised to July 23, 2015. Okay. Plan file proposed driveway re-subdivision property of Green dated June 30th, 2015, revised to July 10th, 2015 at Waldron Associates. This application is approved with the following conditions. The driveway be constructed in accordance with approval of Inland Wetlands Commission dated July 13, 2015. And I'm open to...
The second condition would be that the easement be revised as per the discussion that we just went through a few minutes ago. And we probably have a pretty good record of that.
Right.
So I'm just going to put it on here that the easement is to be revised.
As per discussion at the public hearing. I think we can figure that out.
Should we also?
Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
Can I ask Mr. Cost to read the second revision dates on that second sheet again?
The plan profile proposed driveway re-subdivision cost of Grime, property of Grime dated June 30th, 2015, revised to July 10th, 2015.
Thank you.
Do we need to add the other condition, like the town of Guilford enforcement officer should be notified to inspect?
Yes.
I think those should be added in.
Right.
Isn't that in the wetlands?
It's on the
That's
wetland.
okay. That's already on. Yeah.
Oh, so then
It's
we're
on the wetland.
perfect.
So do we have any other concerns about the driveway at all?
I just think, maintaining the lawn or whatever areas into the conservation easement is setting up for a long-term problem.
I have seen this so many times, it just invites disaster.
It defeats the purpose of a conservation easement, which is to conserve the land, and it also is inconsistent with what we've required other applicants to do. So in terms of fairness, consistency, and what the purpose of it is, I think that area should be included in the conservation easement, and I understand they don't want to destroy the view, but if it's shrubs or something low that's put in there and nobody goes into there unless they need to do it for maintenance because a hurricane or a tree fell down and damaged the area, would be appropriate.
So just to be clear, if they plant shrubbery that grows up in a way that obscures their view, they're going to go in and cut it.
Not supposed to. That's part of what the, you can go in and maintain it if there's damage, but I have one in the back of my yard, okay? If a tree falls down, I can clean it up, but if I
Right.
want to expand my backyard, I can't do that.
Right,
That's
but
part of
right.
what the easements, conservation easement is all about. And there's also, it's going to be pinned so that no one can say, oh geez, I didn't know where it was. There's also going to be signs posted, so if somebody goes in there and does that, it's clear it's a violation, and they could be ordered to restore it at their cost.
Are there signs posted?
There will be. That's part of what the requirement is.
I thought the gist of what you were agreeing to was that the area that's currently lawn, that's shown in the conservation easement, that conservation easement area would be revised to take that lawn area out of the conservation.
Right, and move it.
Yeah,
Right,
that's what you, that's
Right.
what we were talking
We
about.
really wanted to
before.
move it and add it to
Right.
another area that isn't conservation.
Right, exactly.
Right, probably on the other lawn, the new lot, the
Right,
newly
so there's
created
no
lot.
problem with them putting the shrubs in there and maintaining them, as long as it doesn't impact the pond. That's my point.
It's not going to work. I mean, we can say that, and that's great, but, you know, in practice, we know.
Well, that's, yeah, but that's not in the easement area, so they can go in there.
Do I have to add anything else to this?
No, it's further discussion, I think, you know. If we
So
vote on it-
basically, we're asking the owner that has the lawn to put up some protection. It could be low-lying protection for some feet off of the pond.
Right, per Kevin's request,
Yeah.
but it's not part of the easement area.
Okay.
That's additional area to be added someplace else to make up.
Right. Is that for 3A? You know, a planting plan should be, do we need a planting plan, do you think, or just the fact that we're having this discussion is a planting plan?
I think we probably need a planting plan, because I know in wetlands conversations, they always talk about native shrubbery and number of shrubs and all that.
So is that what we are contemplating? I mean, is that what we sort of said, or?
Yeah.
What?
Reggie, you seem to have some concerns.
I can't hear Ray, so I'm wondering, Ray, you want the lawn out of the,
easement area.
but then you want them to plant shrubs along the edge
Per
of the-
Kevin, well, Kevin said that if they want to plant low-lying shrubs, that's fine, okay? I mean, they don't have to do anything if it's out of the easement area. They can do whatever they want.
Okay,
They don't have to have a planting plan.
thank you.
We want to add that area someplace else so that we don't lose the conservation easement.
Now
I still don't have to do anything.
No.
No, right.
No, you're fine. I think it's fine the way you've done it.
You okay?
I mean, I would plant small shrubs there, but they don't have to.
You get a vote. You're on.
So,
Josh?
I'm all set, I mean,
Frank?
things off of it.
We all set? All right, so all those in favor of approving this,
Aye.
congratulations.
Do we have a second, by the way?
Yeah. Okay, so that was good. That was exciting. Saved them $12,000. Joking. Oh, boy. All right. Frank Gaglio, the gentleman with the nice shed for his wood. Can I get a motion for approval for this?
Yeah, it's voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a special permit application for Frank Gallio and McKee at 100 Deepwood Drive, map 16, lot 102, for an addition to an accessory structure as shown on an application dated July 10, 2015, and this heard as a public hearing on August 5, 2015. This application is approved based upon the finding that it conforms with the zoning code. The special permit is effective on August 14, 2015, and upon filing with the town clerk.
Second.
Okay, so what do we think? It's a nice looking project. You could build one at my house too, that'd be great.
meets all the requirements of the code.
It does, it looks nice.
Yeah.
You came and asked first, which is perfect.
Isn't that nice?
It is, it's just the way it's supposed to be. It's so unusual. Good, all right, so any questions, any comments, anything further? No, all those in favor? Aye. Congratulations, Mr. Gaglio, wherever you are. All right, zoning amendment. This is the Goose Lane property. Never going to refer to it as Wilbur and King anymore, because it's changed now. And this is the mixed-use conservation. Do we have someone have a motion on that?
Voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission amend the zoning map by changing the zone district of 350 Goose Lane, map 75, lot 101, from the I2 zone to MU/C3, mixed-use conservation 3 zone, This amendment is made based upon a finding that it is consistent with the Plan of Conservation and Development 2015. The amendment is effective on August 14th, 2015.
Good.
Second.
All right, so what do we think? Any question in anyone's mind?
We spent a lot of time
Yes.
on the back end, or the front end of this.
So is everyone on board? Yep, no other discussion, all right, all those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Wonderful. Wherever you are, congratulations. All right, we don't have nothing there. Reggie's getting up. Applications to be received. These are 19th, 2nd, 16th, so they're all different dates. Can I get a motion to receive?
Sure. Make a motion for Kelly Carney at 108 Wilderwood Drive, map 83, lot 15-66, zone R7. Special permit for commercial kitchen for prepared foods and catering for off-site delivery, no on-site pickup. Waiver of professionally prepared site plan requested, receive and set a public hearing date for August 19th, 2015.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Number 2, Matthew Stevens, 55 Horseshoe Road, map 122, lot 34, zone R3. Request to waive a professionally prepared site plan. Receive and set a public hearing date for September 2nd, 2015.
It just seems to be something missing on
Missing,
there.
right? Yeah.
You know what that's for, George, by chance?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Number
I
2
wasn't-
under
Stevens?
special.
I wasn't listening. What
It
was?
just says he wants to have a,
Request to waive a professionally prepared site plan for
We don't know what.
it doesn't say what he's
55
trying to do.
Horseshoe Road. Horseshoe Road. Do you remember what that is? Reggie, do you know what, do you remember what the application, what Matthew Stevens is? We seem to have left out what the project actually is here from the agenda.
It's a accessory apartment.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good.
Okay, accessory apartment.
We like
Second.
So we have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Next up.
Number 3, Anderson Brothers, P.O. Box 608, Madison, Connecticut, map 54, lot 4, zone MUOS. Application to renew a special permit for earth removal and storage 27-98. Receive and set a public hearing date for September 16th, 2015.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Wonderful. Oh.
I was just going to ask where this is. I mean, it doesn't say anything about what this application is for.
It's true. Here's another.
Is there
It
is
gives
there an
the map
address
a lot,
on
But
this?
it doesn't give the street address, just
I
the
don't know if there is a
applicant's
street address. There's no building there. It's on State Street, just north of Route 1, behind the houses on the east side of the road. They've been there for years, kind of going back towards the greenhouses. It's in an industrial zone, I think. No, it used to be an industrial zone. Now it's a mixed use something or other.
So could we say lot off of State Street?
North of Route 1, State Street on the east side, something to that. I don't think there's an actual address because there's no building. That's
But
why
there-
it's just a map.
I guess my concern is if we're going to have a public hearing, people ought to have some idea where it is.
Yeah, for the public notice,
Where is that on the?
must be something on the tax.
You don't have map and lot number on your...
Well, we do, but I'm just saying something to give some guidance to somebody when they read the notice.
Yeah, we'll try to
Maybe
describe
they'll
where
be
it is.
interested. I don't know.
Right, okay. Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. All right, so we voted on that. We approved that. Yeah.
No, I don't think we did yet, did we?
Yeah, we did. And that's all. So we would need an address. So yeah, we did that.
Right.
Okay, Ocean Co. LLC.
Ocean Co. LLC, 485 Whitfield Street, Guilford, Connecticut, map 29, lot 108, zone R3, coastal area management application. Change of use in detached garage to combine model shop/office to facilitate research. Receive and set a public hearing date for September 2nd, 2015, 273.91 C5H.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's why they're here. Okay. We have some correspondence.
There's a letter.
We have to do we're not doing these?
Is there any?
What is that?
Site plans, zoning amendments. and
Zoning amendments?
subdivisions.
I don't think we have anything.
There are any? I'm just asking. We just,
Is there some,
Sorry,
someone?
Always ask. It's good. All right, so who wants to?
I'll take a shot at it. This is from Lulu's on 75 Whitfield Street. It's a temporary display of merchandise. Dear Sir, Madam, the ordinance of restricting a display outside our place of business, save one weekend a month, is making operating a small business in Guilford, Connecticut even more challenging. A display rack increases traffic flow and sales substantially. It is already extremely challenging for us small merchants to compete with large chain stores and their ability to discount sales.
And run sales.
What was that?
And run sales.
And run sales, okay. On another note, what is the difference between a simple rack and the labyrinth of items on display of Page Hardware Sidewalk 350 days a year? Question mark. I petitioned the Planning and Zoning Commission to review this request and understand the difficulties we face on the Village Green as we are the heartbeat of the town center. Respectfully submitted, Kimberly H. Mays. Okay. But I know this is something that we have discussed a lot about.
We
over the
discussed
past
this a lot.
years.
I was worried that this was going to happen, that you give an inch and they take a mile. Maybe we should use this as a beginning of discussion of removing the opportunity for anyone to put anything out.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
This room has terrible acoustics. I was worried about this when we said that they could do it on the days that we said, and we actually negotiated back and forth to get to the amount of days that they now have. And sure enough, within a period of a few months, we're asking for yet more. And so rather than just saying yes to this, I'm thinking maybe we need to review and see if we need to cut back some more instead of granting
Like
them
she's
more.
actually asking for us any specific.
I was going to say, she really didn't ask for anything.
She's just asking to consider the issue. I'm not.
Right,
is that
so,
correct?
so would we not have to consider it for every single business in the town?
I think that's what she wants to do. I think she's saying that the Village Green area is struggling because they can't all have areas like Page Tap.
Well, the
Page
page
Hardware.
predates zoning code. That's why Page can do it.
Well, that's the answer to her,
Yeah.
because she asked that question about pages, so that would be our answer to her, is it predates it.
Right,
Can't do anything about that right now.
right.
So the only thing we can do is, I guess, Economic Development Committee has always been looking at this issue, right? This is an ongoing thing that they look at, and they have reported to us, and we have done something about it. And I don't necessarily know if the question is to take away what we've done. I think the question might be whether what we've done is enough. So, I don't know. I have no idea.
Well,
I mean, have we had any safety issues with
Well,
what's
we've
been
had some
going on?
violations.
Violations is certainly.
We've had quite a few, actually. We said that they could do it on certain days, and fortunately Reggie's here, and there have been some instances where there was confusion on the property, on the business owners. They didn't know what our statement said, and so they added some other stuff on other days. In fact, I took a photograph of one, and I sent it to you. I don't know what else to say. We talked about it, we really considered it, we went back and forth, and then we came to what we thought was a fair and equitable solution of giving them some. And I think we tried it for a limited period of time just to see how it's working out. If there were going to be violations and if there were going to be more requests for more. And here we go.
Well, I think we spent, like you said, a tremendous amount of time. I think we need to let it run its course. We put a time limit on it, and then I think it could come back up for discussion when the time frame that we put in expires.
Good. I agree.
Yeah, I think it's great, and we could save this letter for when we have to discuss what's going on in the future.
Sure, that's good. Right?
No comment. Yeah, I have empathy for wanting to sell more, but there's another side to that as well, so.
Certainly. Tom? You okay, Tom?
Yeah.
Good. All right. What do you got?
I'd say, let it run its course and then we'll review it.
It's perfect.
And then January.
Is that when it's up, January?
This year. It's up to December, the first week in December.
So January,
Right, and I just so everyone knows, I asked her to keep a running tally of the violations, just so we have some idea of the mistakes that people have made. All right, anything else on that? No? Okay. Chuck, come guide us. Give us some enlightenment.
Sure. Chuck Anderson, for the record, attorney for the commission. I was asked to address the legality of proposed zoning regulations concerning protest petitions that the commission is considering. And to summarize, the proposals are statements that if there is a protest by someone who owns property within 1,000 feet of the area of an application, whether it could be a site plan, special permit, zoning text amendment, or zoning map amendment, that would trigger a 2/3 supermajority vote in order for the proposal to pass. And the question is that legal? The question is it wise? That's for you. But the question for me is that something that you have authority to do? I think the answer is probably no, and I'll go through why. What I'm going to pass around is a copy, an excerpt from the statute.
83B?
83B. 83B is the part of the enabling statutes that authorize protest petitions for zoning amendments. I'm sorry, there's another handout I had for something else. I gave you the wrong one. And if you can take a look at that, that is something that's on the books now, and it says that if there's a protest petition and it's signed by, it just addressed zoning amendments. And it says there's two types of circumstances where where a supermajority vote is required. One is where you have, if you can imagine a map change. If you have 20% of the owners of the property within the map, or within the area that's being affected, that triggers a protest petition. And another one is if you have 20% of the owners of property within 500 feet in a circumference around the area where the petition is, that triggers a protest petition. And if you can think of a donut, and you think the inner hole of the donut, that's sort of the first one I talked about. 20% of the inner hole of the donut, that triggers a petition. And then the donut itself being the circumference area, 20% of that 500-foot circumference area, if you get all those property owners, that triggers the 2/3 vote. So this is what is on the books now for the under your enabling authority. The general rule in zoning is that you have no power except what the legislature gives you. So you can only do what has been delegated to you. And that's been used a number of times. There was a case out of Hamden where I think it was Greenwich. It had to do with regulation of colors of a sign. And it said, Greenwich said, you can only have 3 colors in a sign. That's your Fairfield County. And someone took that to the Supreme Court and said, wait a minute, the enabling statute says you can regulate the height, the location, but it doesn't say anything about colors. And the Supreme Court said, you're right. It's not in the statute. Can't do it. If it's not granted to you specifically, you don't have an authority. In this case, the legislature has set forth a very specific process that triggers a protest petition, that triggers the requirement for a 2/3 vote. And it is different and probably more strict than what your proposal is. But that's the one within this only addresses not within the zone itself, but within 1,000 feet. As I read the proposal, it's any property owner a single property owner within 1,000 feet of the area can trigger the 2/3 majority vote. The legislature by saying that you have to do it this way, in my mind, says you can't do it any other way. And it's not like this has been the only way it's been since whenever. It used to be, they tinkered with it over the years. It used to be 200 feet, they moved it up to 500 feet. It used to be 2/3, 3/4. That to me is an evidence of the legislature is telling you how you got to do it. So I think it's pretty clear that for zoning amendments, that there's no authority within the Enabling Act for you to do anything different than what the legislature has said you can do here. I haven't found any case law on that because I haven't seen any, I don't know it's ever been proposed. I haven't, just haven't seen it out there.
Now, if you did want to change it, then what you would need to do is go to the state legislature, have them change it, and then it would apply to the whole state.
Correct.
And this is on all of these or just zoning?
This specifically applies to zoning amendments. To me, the next question is, well, what about special permits and site plans?
Right.
Because there's no equivalent statute that addresses that. And to me, that's a tougher call, but the answer in my mind is still no. And the reason that I believe that, and again, this is my best estimate. I'm not, because I don't have a case on the statute that says that, is that there's lots of other areas in zoning and otherwhere where supermajority votes are authorized. If you had a separate planning commission would have to address a zoning amendment, and it could only be passed by a 2/3 vote. For variances, anything done by the ZBA, you have to have 4 out of 5 votes. And a variance is essentially saying you don't have to comply with zoning regulations at all, sort of an exception to zoning regulations. For subdivision waivers, it's a 3/4 vote if you want to waive a subdivision regulation. There's another things buried in the statute. You can do fees in lieu of parking by over a 2/3 vote, I believe. That, in my mind, suggests that where the legislature has wanted to authorize a supermajority vote, they do it explicitly. And I'm inferring, I don't think you can infer from silence that you have that authority, just because under that same logic that you only have the authority that's given to you. And there's some discussion that says if it's not there, you don't have it. Just some general case law. That, I agree, is not as easy a call. Again, I found no authority in state. I did look out of state, and I found some out-of-state authority that said that you don't have the authority unless the legislature says it. They tried to do for a special permit, authorize a supermajority vote. Legislature, the enabling statute was silent, and the reasoning was just that where they wanted to do it, they got to do it explicitly. And it's in different cases. I found 2 states where they said that. But I haven't, it's not Connecticut, who knows, it could be a little bit different, but it seemed to be somewhat the same logic and rationale. So that's my guess.
Good. Thanks, Chuck. What else you got? Anything else?
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Because this is in the legislature then, that any party in Guilford now could use, this doesn't have to be in the regulations. This is state law.
Yeah, for zoning amendments, that applies.
We've actually had that raised, if you'll recall, when DDR tried to get the zone changed to expand the size of the building or some other changes. A protest petition was filed here, and we had to have a 2/3 majority in order to pass the change. So that's happened here in the past.
Okay.
And that's state law.
What was the outcome of that vote?
We got the 2/3 majority.
Good.
It wasn't easy. I remember it was a long night, but we got it.
Long night. It wasn't my fault that time. Had nothing to do with it. What else you got, Chuck?
I had 2 other things.
Maybe before you move on to the next topic, the sort of follow-up implication of Chuck's comments, if you agree.
I'd like to ask you to withdraw your proposal amendments, the ones that are identified 2, 3, 4, and 5, from this July 29th proposed zoning amendment document. You recall, these were presented by the zoning committee. The first set of amendments, 1, 2, 3, on the first page of this, have to deal with medical marijuana. So that's going to stay in place. This is all scheduled for a public hearing already.
Yep.
Item number 1, the requirement for a second public hearing for special permits. I don't think Chuck has any issue with that.
Right.
He didn't say it specifically, but from what I know, you don't have,
No,
you're not concerned with that. Keeping in mind that we do have to stay within the statutory time limits for making decisions and holding public hearings.
Right.
The second public hearing doesn't obviate the need to comply with that. So the gist of what Chuck's suggesting is that we eliminate or withdraw 2, 3, 4, and 5 from this proposal.
I'll make a motion that we withdraw 2 through 5.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
My only question is, since it's already noticed, I don't necessarily disagree with Chuck at all. And in fact, when this was coming through zoning, the only purpose of this, the zoning committee, the only purpose really was to have a conversation about this. And that's why it made it through the zoning, was so that we could have a conversation about this. I don't necessarily know if we're going to leave 1 in there, might as well leave 2 in there, because it seems like Chuck is adamant about 3, 4, and 5, and I don't disagree with him at all. And again, I don't necessarily disagree with him that because the Enabling Act is silent on this issue doesn't mean we don't have the power to do it. With that said, do we want to have more of a discussion on it since it was already noticed, or does it not make any sense to have any more discussion?
I don't think it makes any sense, since I think we're basically saying that based on precedent in the other states, your best call is that it's not something that would pass muster, no matter what the discussion was.
Yeah, I think it's a closer call on the site plan and special permit because of that. What I did see in one of the out-of-state arguments, which I thought was interesting, they gave, which was a special, one of the out-of-state cases that where the legislation, the statutes were silent, and the commission adopted a supermajority, 2/3 vote for special permits, and they struck it down. They did so, the main reasons what I said is that you can't infer, you have to point to something that authorizes it, you can't infer from silence. And where they do it explicitly, and they've done here. Another argument that was in that case, which I thought was kind of interesting, was that for special permits, and for special permits and site plans, what you're doing is you're acting administratively. You're determining whether the application complies with the regulations. It's a little bit different than zoning amendments where you're not approving a project, you're adopting policy. And if you think of the circumstances where they do allow supermajorities, it's in policy type of decisions for zoning amendments or the exceptions like variances or waivers or things like that. It's unusual to see when in a decision, when you're acting in the capacity where, in theory, you're deciding whether it complies with the regulations, that you would require a supermajority vote in that kind of circumstance. Because, and I understand there's discretion within the regulations, particularly special permits. There's a lot of harmony with neighborhood or whatever. There's a lot of that. But in theory, you're deciding whether it complies. So you could have something where a majority finds that it complies with the regulations, and yet it's denied. And if it goes to court, what were the reasons for the denial? I assume there may, I don't know, it's complicated. That was raised by, in this other case, that you're supposed to have findings of fact, and when you're acting administratively, it just didn't make a lot of sense. That's not as a persuasive argument to me. I like the first one better, but I thought they made some interesting policy points.
When you say they struck it down, who is the they?
That was the Maryland court holding that a local regulation authorizing a supermajority for a special permit was illegal. I think that went up to the Maryland Supreme Court.
The other thing that occurred to me is that, I mean, it's a pretty fundamental sort of principle of democracy that, majority rules, and to require more than a majority is a pretty extraordinary step. I mean, you have to be a pretty good reason for doing that. Very good reason. Like in the case of a variance or some place where you're making an exception to the rule. In this case, you're saying that the rule requires 2/3 vote.
I mean, I don't think we even need to get to the merits of it. I think there's enough legal uncertainty, and why get dragged into court over it that it's not worth even pursuing. But, I mean, even getting to the merits of it is a good idea now.
I'd like to go back to number one, because someone said that number one was okay. There are an awful lot of different types of special permits. And to say every single special permit has got to wait for a second hearing.
All we're saying is it's going to go out to public hearing. Doesn't mean
we're passing
it.
It just means that Chuck doesn't think that that would be illegal.
And I agree with Chuck that this, I don't think it's good policy, okay? But I do want to hear from the public on it.
Okay.
Because we know it.
But we should send it out to public for a hearing.
Okay.
And then we'll vote on it, and it will be what it will be.
Okay.
All right.
So the motion is?
The motion is we're taking out 2, 3, 4, and 5. Did someone make that motion?
I did. Someone seconded.
I second it.
All right, so all those in favor of removing 2, 3, 4, and 5?
All right.
It's unanimous. One stays. Chuck, what else you got?
I was asked, I have two other things that George asked me to address. One has to do with the issue, and I guess it was somewhat in connection with the application for an accessory structure that is coming up, but it was sort of a side issue there. My understanding, this is an old Whitfield Street house that there's an application for an accessory structure, and it's used by a corporation, Rockland.
Oh, this is Ocean Cove.
Ocean Cove. Yes, this is Ocean Cove.
Okay.
It's used by a corporation, and they have their employees, temporary people come and stay there, and the application's in connection with that. And the question's been raised as to whether that is a permitted use in the residential zone. Is this more like a hotel? I'm just throwing out a wild contrast. Does this fit within the uses allowed as a dwelling in a residential zone? Is, in fact, and talking with George, the issue has come up before about short-term rentals, which someone, and it's actually was a case a few years ago that Reggie had. If someone goes on Airbnb or wants to rent their house for a weekend and is using it more for, say it's more for a commercial type of venture, is that a zoning violation? And I understand that issue came up in connection sort of peripherally with this application. Is that
That's correct.
Okay.
We have an application for a home office, as we call it in shorthand, by Ocean Co., as you know, to use the garage associated with this single-family dwelling at 450 Whitfield Street. We have a public hearing date on that application. Peripheral to that is this...
We schedule it for public hearing?
Yes.
We shouldn't be talking about it then, right?
Well, that's
I think Chuck and I did talk about it. We're not really talking about the merits of the special permit application now. What we're talking about is the question that the commission actually raised with regard to the use of the single-family house. What constitutes a dwelling unit, which is the permitted use in the single-family zone? What kind of residential combination, if you will, is allowed within the definition of a single-family home? That's the question that was raised.
So it's a general discussion, not related.
It's a general discussion. It's not related to the application, because the application is for an accessory, is for a home office in a detached building in a residential
Which has
zone.
got nothing to do with dwelling. Definition. Right.
That's a good clarification. That's appropriate.
I think it's appropriate to discuss it.
Right, and that's, blended into the whole issue of short-term rentals, which is that permitted use. And what's in your regulations now? And I can say that if I had to give an opinion, I don't think your regulations restrict the length of time that a house can be leased. That it would still satisfy your regulations as they're currently written. So I don't think there's anything that prohibits that. And I can run through just what that, why I come to that and what's involved in that. And that has come up before, I don't know, in the listserv, George, the American Capital listserv, and it's been happening more. for a number of reasons, down economies and, more online stuff where you can rent your place. and it's happened. It's happened, where a number of towns where there have been complaints. Typically, the people are in the neighborhood, and people come in for short-term, having parties, staying up late, leave the place a mess, and the neighbors complaining. And the question is that, that's more of a hotel or bed and breakfast use? Is that something that's prohibited in regulations? So that's the kind of question that I think George wanted me to look at, and it had some peripheral stuff to this. And I'll give you a quick response that in your regulations now, your table 4, the permitted uses, you allow dwellings, single-family dwellings, and when you go and you parse what that means, dwellings are a building designed as a residence or occupancy by one or more families, and so the issue is the dwelling has to be a residence. So is there anything about a residence that limits it to the duration of it? You love this when I went to the law dictionaries. What's a residence? What's the definition of residence? And this is an old one that I have. You just gotta love this. A term of dual meaning, sometimes meaning a temporary, permanent, or transient character. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the precision. At other times, meaning one's fixed abode or domicile. Sometimes a mere physical presence in a place. At other times, an abiding place with intent to make it one's home. It could mean whatever you want. That was Ballantyne's. Black's, I think, was better. It said, the place where one actually lives as distinguished from a domicile. Residence usually just means bodily presence as an inhabitant in a given place. Usually requires a bodily presence, as opposed to domicile, which is an intent to stay there. So the term used in the regulations is residence. Haven't seen any cases in Connecticut about this, but I did find one out-of-state case that kind of looked at the same issue, where the court said, there's nothing inherent in the concept of residence or dwelling that includes time. The city offers no authority that anything about the concept of residential distinguishes between short-term and long-term occupancy. If the city's going to draw a line requiring a certain time period of occupancy, then it needs to do so by enacting clear and ambiguous law. So I would say, if you wanted to do that, if you perceive that there's a problem that needs to be addressed through a zoning regulation, that's sort of phase 1. Don't address it, it's not a problem. But if it is a problem, and there are good and bad reasons for anything, then my suggestion would be for this sort of issue that you adopt a regulation addressing it. And I think you probably you can. But right now, as I don't see anything in there, just the way it's written, that says short terms don't qualify as a resident. It's not your residence, even if you're there for a short period versus long.
So I got a question. Sure. So we determine where a person votes by where they are a resident. Mm-hmm. So these people who are residents of a house in Guilford, any house, not any particular house, if they're a resident for 2 weeks and it occurs on election day, they vote here?
I think for election law, the term residence probably has a specific statutorily defined definition.
Of time.
Probably, of time. That there's probably, I don't see.
So in some law, time is an issue, but in this case, it's not an issue.
It's because you haven't made it, it's just a generic term that's used in there, which, as I'm reading the dictionary definition of the term, it doesn't really state that. There have been cases and there have been regulations that have been adopted that have regulated that. I found one case out of New Jersey that said you can't even do it at all, that it's not within the enabling authority to regulate duration. But I think New Jersey was a minority. There was other cases in other parts of the country that said if you do it right, you can do it.
So just to be clear, if you were a resident of a home and you wanted to have a workspace, you could apply here and say, I want to have a workshop in my garage if you were a resident.
I would do it without a...
Yeah, the accessory structure,
Our regulations authorize property owners to apply for a special permit to create a home, what we call a home office.
So it's a property owner and not a resident.
The owner has to be the applicant in any case.
Okay.
The owner doesn't have to be the person conducting the office or whatever the use is, but the resident of the property does, which could
be anybody if you're staying there for 15 minutes.
Right.
You're a resident.
That's, in theory, that's according to this extreme example, yeah.
So we should change it to domicile.
So you could have, if you could rent your house by the hour.
Are there any limitations as to the number of residents?
Well, yeah, there's a family. It has to be a residence by a single family. You have a definition of family in your regulations that's could be related by blood, but it's also a number of persons living and cooking together as a single housekeeping unit, though not related by blood, adoption, or marriage. So if you're keeping household as a single unit, that means you're a family member.
But so there's no limit on the number. It could be.
Right, so Chuck, you just said you have to eat together, is that what?
Well, you have to have a single household. What in my mind, it's distinguishing between single rooms, that you're letting out single rooms. You're not a family.
So they have to eat together.
It says living together as a single household unit, though not related by blood or marriage. Living and cooking together.
So Connecticut is just insane.
That's our
regulation.
Oh, so they have to cook together, but not necessarily eat it together. That's our regulation. Our regulations say they have to cook together.
Interpreted that as you're allowed to have one kitchen. That's what that means. Obviously, we don't really monitor whether or not they cook together.
But that's what the law says. I mean,
right. Well, I mean, whether everybody eats dinner together or not is not something we really pay much attention to, frankly. Probably most families by blood don't always eat together.
Right.
We're not going to regulate,
Right. The idea is that there's...
who's a family kind of thing.
Right, whether they eat at all, it's not something we really regulate. But
what are they going to do? Kick down the door midnight and find out?
Right.
You're eating in your room again. Stop eating in your room. You're not a family.
There is some internal history on this issue. In 2008, there was Reggie issued a cease and desist order to a property owner at 103 Cindy Lane that's around the Guilford Lakes, who was renting out his dwelling on a short-term basis on the theory that he had to be longer than what it was doing. I think she didn't think it was appropriate. And that appeal was made to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and they reversed and overturned her decision.
Because there was a
and there was no further litigation in court. No further litigation involved because there's a homeowners association. My understanding is that rule came in. So even if the zoning didn't prohibit it, the homeowners association private covenants did.
Unbelievable. Well, ZBA has a lot of power.
So that was the second issue that George asked me to address with you. There's one more. Any other questions about that?
No.
So a resident is anyone who's in a house for even 10 minutes, and they have to sort of eat together maybe? Or no, we don't really regulate that.
That's for the family, yeah.
And the actual homeowner doesn't have to be in residence also?
Being the owner of the property? No, I mean, clearly that's not, many people own houses and rent them to other people.
Somebody gets a special assignment.
How do you define a commercial residence versus a residential residence?
Yeah, like
there is no such thing.
Commercial use.
There's no distinction.
Residential use.
So,
whether you rent a house,
four-bedroom house,
whether you rent it or give it away, doesn't really matter.
Corporation, is that a commercial use?
No. They're residential people that are in it. If they're doing commercial site work, selling stuff.
I go to
So wait. Ray just said something important. If they're doing commercial work.
And it's a residence, that's a use issue.
So I go to Comfort Inn, and their only business is putting people up, and they're residing there. But that's not residential use, is it? Or is it? I mean, they're...
Well, if they're cooking together.
They might be eating there.
I don't know. Here's my concern, is people get special assignment, they go to England for 2 years, they lease their house out for 2 years. Okay, so maybe we say 2 years is okay. Well, how about a year? Well, how about 6 months?
Well, that's not relevant, but what about the work that the people are doing? I mean, you said, and I agree with you, that if it's a residential setting and they're regular people just
But if they come
visiting.
in for a special permit to have a type of use like a home office or something, and they're running their business out of the home office in the grant, that's appropriate. Depends on what the special permit is and the circumstances. Now, what I don't think they can do is rent the house out to a commercial, flooring business and put a showroom in there, residential. That you can't do, okay?
But how do you define what that, like you just said, I agree with you, but, there are a lot of commercial uses which aren't necessarily flooring,
I hear what you're saying, but if people are simply living there, cooking and eating and sleeping, that's residential. If they go beyond that, they may or may not need a special permit, depending on what they're doing. If they're doing a hobby, they're repairing old radios and then they sell them on eBay. That's still okay, and I guess you could call it commercial. To me, that's sort of a residential thing. You build model airplanes and they sell those.
Yep.
Is that commercial or residential? You tell me. But it sounds to me like it's okay to do in residential area.
Yep.
But anyway, so it's not, take what you're saying, Chuck, it's not cut and dry, black and white, real clear all the time.
It's not, and if you wanted to address it, I would think you should adopt a regulation addressing it, or if you think you need it, you don't,
Well, what I want to know first is what's the problem we're trying to solve, and then we could draft a regulation.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, next up, Chuck, what do you got?
The last thing concerns pending litigation. We can, but we don't have to go into executive session. This concerns the Lotella special permit. I believe you added that to your agenda?
Yes.
We did.
Okay.
In the past, we've usually done that in executive session, but I have no...
The last time we discussed it,
I don't think there's any reason to, really.
Yeah, but it's up to everybody.
Yeah, for purposes, I don't think you need to for this.
Yeah, I think I know what it is, so I don't think we need to either.
This is what's going on, you granted a special permit for extra horses, I believe, on property. And a neighbor took an appeal. When we came here before you, the neighbor wanted us to carry the load and not defend their appeal and not hire their own lawyer. What's happened is really nothing has happened since then. The property is for sale and they got a buyer. The new buyer has no interest in pursuing a special permit. And so we've had discussions both with I spoke with the attorney for the new buyer as well as the attorney for the plaintiff who brought the case about resolving this case. And there's two ways of resolving it. One, and I'll have a recommendation as to which one I think is better. The original suggestion by the attorney is why don't you agree that the appeal can be sustained without prejudice, that they can reapply if they want to, not particularly bad. But I'm just always concerned, could something come back? Why admit you did something wrong? That's what you do when you have an appeal. The other option is something that I did before with the ZBA, and this is, I'm just passing around a resolution. You can have nothing to do with the Lotellas, but it is something that was adopted by the ZBA, and this would be a similar form. Essentially what it involves is rather than having the appeal sustained, the property owner would essentially retroactively withdraw the application. So saying that we're no longer interested, I request I would withdraw the application, and then you take action rescinding your approval because you accept the withdrawal of the application, and then we file a notice of land records. That just seems to be a little bit better because then we're not, no one can say that you did anything wrong, whereas an appeal is sustained. And speaking with the other attorneys, they both are agreeable with that. If that's okay, then I would report back to them that this commission's okay with that process. So what I expect would happen is you get a letter from the owner, requesting withdrawal. You would accept that, and then I could do a resolution similar to what we did here, and then you would accept it and then rescind your approval because you've been withdrawn, and then notice we filed on the land records. That was another problem. The special permit's already been recorded. So that's my recommendation, how to get rid of that one.
So we have to move?
You don't have to do anything. What I just want to get a sense of, is that
Yes.
working?
Yeah, I think that's
Where's the
efficient way of dealing with it.
Where's the cost of you drawing up the resolution with the landowner? I mean,
It's in litigation, it's not a lot of time. I understand that. I want you guys.
I'll do it up. I'll copy this one over, change the names. I'll save the town, it'll save the town $1,500.
We did this for ZBA, right?
We did this for planning and zoning. It was a dance studio that located itself without proper authority in an office building. And the people who had the office below the dance studio protested that decision.
Right.
And so the dance studio eventually relocated, and then withdrew their application, or withdrew their approval for special permit.
It's gotta be great.
And the commission voted to approve that.
Do we have to have a public hearing on this withdrawal request?
No, it's accepting the withdrawal and rescinding. It's a little bit, no specific procedures talk about it, but if everyone's happy, do that, and then you want to
Tell you what, I'll make a motion that we accept Chuck's recommendation to ask the applicant to file a letter withdrawing it, and then we rescind it and act on it that way.
Second that.
All those in favor? Go ahead, Chuck, knock them out.
Thanks, Chuck.
Okay. Thank you, Chuck. Anything else we should know? Good, thank you very much. We always appreciate your guidance. We have some bills.
I didn't hear the second report.
I think Frank did. Frank?
I did.
There you go, Josh did. Someone seconded it. One of the commissioners seconded it. Okay, can I get a motion to pay these bills?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have minutes, 7:15 minutes. Has anyone read them?
It looked good.
Are they're substantially
Recuse myself since I wasn't here to vote.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve them?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
I'm going to recuse myself as well.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
He did.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Good night, everybody.